Greetings, friends. Welcome to CTUCC ConferenceCast for May 10th, 2012, the regular podcast of the Connecticut Conference of the United Church of Christ. Whoever you are, and wherever you may be on life's journey at this very moment, you are welcome here. We begin this week's ConferenceCast with this meditation from your podcast host, Eric Anderson, the Minister of Communications and Technology. The 15th chapter of John's Gospel takes place after Jesus and his disciples have shared their last meal together before the crucifixion, but before they have gone out to the Garden of Gethsemane. Among the things Jesus tells them in a lengthy speech come some startling and critical words. My commandment is that you love one another as I have loved you, he says. And then, no one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. At the close of the first part of George Friedrich Handel's choral masterpiece, Messiah, the choir commits irony. First, the sopranos, then the tenors, then the altos and the basses sing the airy, lilting lyric, "His yoke is easy, his burden is light." The irony, of course, is that the chorus isn't easy at all. I've sung that tenor part, and it's not simple. And in fact, it gets steadily more difficult until it reaches the grand chords which complete Handel's account of Jesus' birth and ministry before the mood changes, as Handel describes Christ's passion and death in Part 2 of Messiah. That same irony permeates this scene at the Last Supper. Jesus has already prophesied his betrayal and crucifixion. He has even sent his betrayer out into the night to perform the deed. When he calls the remaining 11 his friends, because they know what he is doing, though I have to admit they seem entirely clueless about that, he lays a considerable burden on them. You are my friends if you do what I command you, he tells them. And the command, of course, love one another as I have loved you. Or, love each other to the point where you will give up your life for each other. That's no easy yoke. That's no light burden. Now, I have never understood why anyone would say that love is easy. Now, attraction is easy. Desire is easy. Those are feelings, and they just spring up out of our brain and blood. But love? Love is the deliberate choice to place someone else's interests at or above your own. Now that is difficult indeed, even at the most human levels of lovers, partners, siblings, parents, and children. Our self-interest wants its due, and sometimes our selfishness wants what it wants. Genuine needs conflict with each other, and it's bad enough when I want confronts you need. It gets worse when you need meets I need. I have no great advice to offer on this fundamental problem of Christianity. I can't think of a single way to make the yoke easy. We don't even have the excuse of ignorance. Like the 11 on the night of betrayal and desertion, we know what the Master Jesus has been doing, and we know what he has asked us to do. all I can counsel is to walk ahead with eyes wide open, or to use Jesus' own phrase, keep awake, so that we might face each challenge of love as it comes. Sometimes it will be easy. Sometimes desire and need run together. But at other times, the conflicts and the temptations will be huge. But when we follow Jesus' command, despite the cost, then we demonstrate that we are truly His friends. And amidst the harshest of circumstances, we will find that we do indeed abide in the love of Christ. Here is a prayer for this week. We know the price of loving may be high, O God, for we have the example of your Son before us. As we would be Christ's friends, open our eyes to those who need our love around us. Open our minds to the ways in which we might share their burdens. And open the strength of our will to meet and overcome the challenges before us. In the name of our greatest friend, Jesus the Christ. Amen. In the news this week, the Conference Minister Search Committee issued a new progress report yesterday, discussing some issues they had not mentioned in earlier reports and offering their projection that they will submit the conference profile and conference minister position description to the Board of Directors for approval in June. Among the decisions recommended by the committee and already approved by the board is the requirement that candidates have authorized ministerial standing in the United Church of Christ. Last Sunday afternoon, over 5,000 area residents filled the streets of downtown Hartford, gathered to raise over $500,000 in that one day for Food Share, the primary food bank agency for Hartford and Talent counties here in Connecticut. UCC church members joined the walk, both in congregational groups and with their employers' teams. Food Share's president and CEO, Gloria McAdam, hopes that late arriving gifts will lift the total over their $600,000 goal. On that same Sunday afternoon, there were more walkers on the streets, this time in New Haven, where they walked for the benefit of the Connecticut Food Bank. When U.S. President Barack Obama declared his support for same-gender marriage equality yesterday, among those who lifted his voice in thanks was the UCC's General Minister and President, the Reverend Geoffrey Black. In a statement, he said, "I am pleased to hear that President Obama, a member of the United Church of Christ for more than 20 years, has affirmed his support for marriage equality. I applaud his important and courageous stance. Same-sex couples are able to live the vocation of marriage as well as anyone else, and there are countless testimonies of this fact in the United Church of Christ." Delegates to the Connecticut Conference declared their support for marriage equality in 2004, and the UCC's General Synod did the same in 2005. Other stories on our website today include the annual meeting of CT Women of the UCC held on April 28th, a profile of the Reverend Sarah Offner Seals, pastor of the Park Congregational Church UCC in Norwich, and our warm and loving congratulations to the Reverend Ann Plumley, pastor of our church in Mansfield, and the Reverend Dr. Thomas Clough, our interim Eastern Regional Minister, who were joined in marriage last Saturday. May God's blessings be on you both. You'll find these stories and all the current headlines at ctucc.org/news. There is a lot happening this coming weekend. We call it the Spring Meeting of the Connecticut Conference. On Friday night, keynote speaker, the Reverend Lillian Daniel, will be joined by the Reverend Martin Copenhaver, her co-author on This Odd and Wondrous Calling, for for a conversation in Southington. Also on Friday evening, young people will gather at Liberty Christian Center in Hartford for the second annual Youth Revival. On Saturday is the meeting itself, when Reverend Daniel will be back to help us think about when spiritual but not religious is not enough, why church matters. If you haven't registered, walk-ins are welcome, and there will be a snack bar so you can purchase some nourishment. Hartford Seminary's Scott Thuma will speak to conference clergy about the other 80% on May 29th in Newington. Give Squared has a retreat on May 31st. And Silver Lake is looking for golfers to play for God at the Silver Lake Golf Tournament in Middlefield on June 5th. The funds raised during that event will help benefit the life-changing, spirit-enriching ministry of Silver Lake Conference Center.
As the sun finally shines a little longer this spring, imagine your bare feet greeting the warm sand between your toes.
Imagine the fireflies sparkling along the tree line above the campfire.
Hear the singing floating over the hill from the Waterfall Chapel.
Revel in the delight of discovering a new best friend in the bunk above you.
In your imagination, you're at Silver Lake already for a week-long outdoor ministry experience that changes lives and makes friend-making easy.
Greet God in God's backyard at Silver Lake this summer. Learn more and register at www.silverlakect.org.
God is working through all the people who fill our lives with hope and care and grace.
There's still room to register, but hurry, we're filling up.
We look forward to welcoming you to Silver Lake, your conference center.
Back, watching the fireflies.
And you can always find out what's coming up in the Connecticut Conference at ctucc.org/events. And that brings this ConferenceCast to a close. Thanks to you for listening, and to GarageBand for our music. Special thanks to the MIT Concert Choir for making that recording of His Yoke is Easy available under Creative Commons license. Primary funding for ConferenceCast comes from your congregation's gifts to our church's wider mission basic support, changing lives through the United Church of Christ. This is Eric Anderson, the Minister of Communications and Technology for the Connecticut Conference of the United Church of Christ, praying that your days this week may be filled with the presence, the guidance, and the grace of God.